Mhm.
Hello and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have a fantastic guest, Paul Zohav. Hopefully I pronounced it correctly. And
Yes.
Paul is a yes man.
Mm.
He's amazing in communication and also, wrote a book about this. So, Paul, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, I'm Paul Zohav. I live in Tucson, Arizona, and some 35 years ago, I began as a domestic violence and abuse counselor. And within a short order, I elected to prevent it rather than treat it after the damage has been done. And so I've been in a continual inquiry over what, if people knew it, would make a complete difference to every relationship in their lives. And 12 years ago, I moved to Tucson, Arizona, and started marriage and communication coaching. And in 5 sessions, couples will make it to their 50th anniversary, or they'll know why not. No regrets.
That's great. Absolutely. So, what actually inspired you to get into this line of business?
I remember being a substitute teacher in a Central Virginia high school. And as a substitute teacher, I pointed out to the students that, you don't have to, especially the female students, you don't have to accept abuse from your boyfriend, said I. But they answered, Mr. Z, if I don't accept abuse from my boyfriend, I don't have a boyfriend. And I'll never forget that moment. And I've been looking for a way to transform a teenager's experience of being alive. For example, teenagers often feel obligated to say yes, pressured to say yes when they really want to say no. And they don't know how. Most adults don't know how either, but teenagers especially need a tool of communication that allows them to be safe and in control of their futures. The answer is yes, I hear you, and I'd rather do something else. That's pretty
And
much it's about as easy as that. Yes means I understand the relationship. I heard you. You don't have to repeat yourself. I acknowledge your relation. I acknowledge your idea. It is somewhat interesting, and from my point of view, I'd rather do something else. And then they're safe and they're in control of their future. So you can take it all the way back to the time in Central Virginia as a substitute teacher in a high school.
yes, and what is your reason why you're doing what you're doing?
I've always looked for a way to leave a world that is better than the one I was born into. I've helped about 2,000 couples at this point, probably more. And I've seen some really tragic stories. Every one of them reinforces my desire to provide an alternative because their children are watching them happen. When you're a 7-year-old watching your parents scream at each other before they finally divorce, it makes a significant impact on your growing up, on who you are and how life is supposed to be. That is why. Compassion, passion, commitment.
And interesting. And also, you mentioned you wrote a book as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and maybe share the book with the audience as well?
Well, out of my experience of coaching 2,000 couples, I've learned a few things along the way. And I've also understood that most people just want directions. They don't want explanations. 3 out of 4 people just tell me how to do it. Thank you very much. So I wrote Marriage and Communication Recipes for Life. It is formatted without any chapters. You don't have to read anything other than take the directions. Get your cake, only the cake is your life. Just, some of the recipes are like one sentence long. Avoid things like always, every, never, and only. Use the word tends to, and you will tend to have their listening and a future together. Recipes for life. There are 16 of them, plus a few other materials. And when you follow the directions, I guarantee you'll have a brand new relationship from home to work.
That's very nice. And how obviously you touched there on having a new relationship when it comes to home and work. How is that sort of useful for business?
Well, um, your customers come to you because they're looking for access to life, return on life, ROL, which by the way, I've trademarked. We are very aware as business operators, we know about return on investment. Is it worth it? Will this piece of equipment enhance my ability to be my business? And I said, what if we look at the return on life? ROL. And we want our people who come to us to see a direct connection between what you offer and what they want for themselves in their life. If the answer is yes, you got a sales because they see, yep, I want his help. I want his support. He knows something I don't know, and I will get it by hanging out with him. Return on life, including your marriages and your relationships and your parenting. Return on life is beneath all of it, whether it's your insurance agent, estate planner, CPA, or having investment opportunities. If they see you as a connection between what they want for themselves and their life, you've got a sale.
Great. Very, very good point. Yes. And what's one piece of advice you can give to someone watching us who is actually either struggling to communicate with their potential clients or struggling to communicate with their spouses or really having struggles in communication in any kind of relationship?
Well, we begin with yeses and ands. Someone comes at you, I'm upset. And you say, yes, I hear you. Please remember this phrase. Yes, I hear you. And let's sit down and work it out. Yes, I hear you. Mom, memorize this phrase. It is also first aid when people are angry, frustrated, and upset. Someone comes to you and say, you're a total and you could defend yourself, or could you explain, but it's not worthwhile because they're not listening. They're being angry. So to avoid that pitfall, you say, yes, I hear you. This is important. I want to hear everything you have to say. Let's sit down with a cup of coffee. And life continues. The next thing you want to be aware of is that we speak declaratively. In fact, I'm doing it right now. Your mind listens for, is it good? Is it bad? Is it right? Is it wrong? Do I agree or disagree? And if what you say, I say to you doesn't match what you expect to hear, we'll stop listening and start arguing about whose truth is truer, whose reality is most real, and who's right and who's wrong. No communication, no listening, and for that we need the word seems. Seems indicates that it's an interpretation. We can talk about interpretations where we get hung up in arguing about subjective truths. So between yes and an and a seems, you have a good beginning of any relationship with anybody, your customers, clients, spouses, and children.
Nice. And if people want to actually learn more about you, find out more about you, how they can do that?
Well, you can go first to marriageandcommunication.com. There'll be blogs and interviews much like this. There'll be all kinds of written materials. There'll be a number of testimonials. And there'll be connections to purchase my book at Mac or go directly to Amazon.com. I'm right now rewriting this book, repurposing it for teenagers. Not as communicated, not as complicated as that for an adult. But teenagers don't typically learn communication skills in high school. And sometimes their parents are pretty much a tragic option. Let me put it that way. And so by going to marriageandcommunication.com, and you can get it connected to me, and we'll create an operating system for relationships, an OS for US. Reach out. I'm available in Mountain Time Zone.
Wonderful. And yeah, just before we go, obviously, because most of the audience watching us are entrepreneurs and business owners and the salespeople. So, what's one of the major things that your system can help when it comes to sales?
At the risk of repeating myself, get really friendly with yes and an and a seems. Once you've mastered that, you have a great foundation for any relationship you want to establish with anybody. Just practice yes ands. It's really it's the magic can opener of communication and a great beginning for any relationship.
I think that's a fantastic ending to this beautiful episode. Thank you all for watching and thank you for listening. If you have any questions for Paul or me, you can ask them in the comments and we'll be more than happy to answer them. Also, if you like the episode, drop us a like, subscribe, and see you all in the next episode. Paul, thank you so much for being a guest today. Thank you
And
for sharing the.
I'll be a guest speaker before any group that invites me.
Mhm.
Human
Wow.
resources, enterprises, churches, service organizations. Give me one half an hour
Mhm.
like this, and I promise their access to communication will be transformed.
I love this. Okay, excellent. We'll do that. Paul, thanks a lot again and see you all in the next episode. All the best and bye bye.
Bye bye.